Good evening and welcome to the curriculum. National policy debates on quality basic education have focused generally on issues of access, content, and financing. The implementation of free compulsory universal basic education (FQ), as highlighted in the Directive Principles of State Policy, Article 38.2 of the 1992 Constitution of Ghana, is beset with some weaknesses in terms of administration, planning, and policy issues. These include infrastructural development deficits, weak supervision, weak teaching and learning methodologies, curricular development deficiencies, research and development, strategic planning, poor quality assurance, inadequate human resource, poor community participation, and apparent weak commitment by the Metropolitan, Municipal, and District Assemblies and the Ghana Education Service to effectively implement educational policies and programs. These broad issues appear worrying to policymakers in government, private and voluntary sectors, parents, international development agencies, organizations, and interested publics. One particular district in Ghana faced with physical huge infrastructural challenges is Ashaiman. The municipality is confronted with limited land space for development, including construction of school buildings. In spite of its growing land space for development, including construction of school buildings, and in spite of its growing commerce, the municipality remains largely underdeveloped and planned with poor road network, poor classroom blocks. Ashaiman is deprived and marginalized as a community within Greater Accra region. Pupils' access to modern classroom blocks, particularly in the public schools, is problematic and affects the quality of teaching and learning, as well as the academic performance in BECE. Poor physical learning environment is more pronounced in Ashaiman cluster of schools, particularly known as government schools. The first episode on the curriculum tonight examines the infrastructural development deficit in basic schools in the Ashaiman municipality. And joining me in the studio to do the discussion this evening, I have to my immediate left retired diplomat and educationist Mr. KB Asante. Next to him, I have Madam Pamela Gaituah, who is the acting director of education, Ghana Education Service, Ashaiman Municipal Education Office. And then next to Madam Gaituah, I have Mr. Ibrahim Baidoo, who is the Municipal Chief Executive of Ashaiman. Gentlemen, lady, you're welcome to the curriculum.
Thank you. Thank you.
First off, we'd like to start with Mr. KB Asante. Mr. Asante, have we laid the right foundation as a nation for quality basic education in this country if we want to look at the whole issue in the context of Ashaiman?
I think we have. By and large, we have. It is in the implementation that we have problems. And it's a good thing you've focused on one area. You studied Ashaiman. And the problems, some of the problems are huge there. But if you look generally, you'll find that they apply to many areas, only not in the same, not to the same degree. So we have laid down the right policies, but implementation has been bad. Now you talk about space. In the first place, Ashaiman has been allowed to grow without any planning. There was talk about things happening behind the classroom and so on. But no mention is made of absence of playing fields and football fields for the schools. That is true of even Greater Accra. Every little bit of space is taken for building because you can make money if you build houses and so on. And schools have no means of expansion. Young people should be free to roam a bit. We did it. That's why we're still perhaps a bit strong even in old age. And then you have the classrooms should be spacious, they should be well constructed and so on. Teachers should be dedicated, they should be involved in teaching. So many things which are happening not so well in Ashaiman are happening in the rest of the country. That is why we have generally a crisis in education. And so perhaps if we take some of the items one by one, we can discuss them and see how we can improve things. Because in many areas, we have not done too badly. We're spending a large proportion of our income on education. We have teachers who are better qualified than I was when I was teaching. And yet, things are not moving well. Our children are not very well. We are not happy with the state of education. They don't read. Now, we have certain aspects of policies which need examination. For example, we give free textbooks to students and so on. Do we really give them textbooks? According to your survey, or some classes have only a few books. A class of 20 may have, or 40 may have books, only 10 books. Now, how do you, in our time, our parents, though they were not rich, they bought the books. Perhaps we have to get away from this question, for the idea of getting everything free, looking for government, looking for my friend who is the chief executive and others to provide everything for us.
Yes,
thank you.
Right. Mr. Asante made it clear that we have laid the foundation, but there are issues when it comes with implementation. Honorable Baidoo, what guides infrastructural development in basic schools in your district, Ashaiman, for example? What are the guides? What guides you?
Yes, before I talk about a guide, I think that I have to set some records straight with regards to the way we look at Ashaiman and looking at the generic situation. Ashaiman, where it finds itself, is a launch pad for the industrial hub of Tema. And so when these schools that are being shown to represent infrastructure in terms of education, then the population was not big as we see it today. Now there are research that reveals that not less than 25 people come to Ashaiman to settle. And certainly there is a pressure on the infrastructure that we have. Now we as a municipal assembly, we spend more than 28% of our investment in educational infrastructure. But again, the pressure keeps coming. And so there's a challenge. We agree with that. There's a challenge. Now, if you talk about guide, in planning and in designing educational infrastructure, I think that the concept is about design preparation. And these are involvement of the community members. You have to meet them, you have to find out what they need, you have to find out what are the problems, what goes into plan preparation. So right from day one, the community is involved in plan. For every better planning cycle, you have to involve the stakeholders.
Have they involved the community?
Certainly we have done that. I have operated way back when we were being supervised under the then Tema Municipal Assembly and now Tema Metropolitan Assembly. Because you cannot run as an assembly when you don't have the medium-term development framework. And before you come out with this, that guides educational infrastructure, you need to engage the people. You have the zonal councils. These are subsidiarity areas that you cannot do away with.
And how have these worked, Mr.
It's
Baidoo?
worked. They are there physically. And as you show, it tells you clearly that the issue of maintenance has come to be with us. We provide the infrastructure. Do we make budget for maintenance? That is another gap that we all have to look at. It's not about provision of the infrastructure. It's about maintenance. It's about looking at the quality. It's about what goes into it. Today, as we speak, most district assemblies do budget for educational infrastructure without even looking at what furniture and what goes into. Schools are commissioned without furniture. Schools are commissioned without even electricity. They are commissioned without water. And for me, it goes against even planning principle. And so what our senior member is saying is a true fact. That when we have done so much, but something is wrong somewhere.
Correct. And Mr. Baidoo, if my memory serves me right, you've been with the Assembly for quite a long time.
Very.
20 plus years. Not
Very.
With the Ashaiman Municipal
Very.
Assembly.
From TMA
but
to
you've been with
Ashaiman.
Tema
Yeah.
Municipal,
Very.
and then Ashaiman was carved out,
Yeah.
and all that. If this has been a problem all this time, what have you done personally to sort of disengage this issue, so that there's some sort of a correction? Because we all agree, and you agree, you said there is a problem, that we plan, the community is engaged, and then you come out with sort of a budget to put up a building, for example. Infrastructure is what we're talking about, the physical learning environment. And then you don't maintain it. And it's going on and on and on and on. It's been going on in all these years. And it's been a problem.
It is a problem, and there should be a solution to it. Now, so having assumed office, one of the first things that I propose to the Assembly is to do re-engineering, or what we call regeneration of our central business area, which involves a cluster of schools. Now, the place is congested. That is why the issue of people doing trading along the school, even within the school, you have a lot of nefarious activities going on. So we need to decongest the cluster of schools. So one, we are kind of limited with land space. Now, one of the moves that I did was to move and lobby. And so as I speak to you, 30 acres at the buffer around Community 22 has been released to the Ashaiman Municipal Assembly. Part of it is being released for the President's initiative of constructing the senior high school for the Ashaiman and the rest. And we are again moving to get another 18 acres, which will serve as a reserve land bank. And today, as I speak to you, TDC have released about 7 number of plots, which we have identified in our scouting. Because we need land banks if we want to decongest the cluster of school. Where it is, even engineers that I have consulted, they are saying that the position of the school now cannot even serve good educational complex. So we should begin to decongest the school and later turn the whole place as a commercial enclave. It's not even conducive for educational infrastructure again. It's not.
And that's obviously a long-term plan.
It is, but immediately, this is what we have done. And this is within a span of 7 months. All this is, I'm telling you. You can come on the ground, I'll take you to the sites, I'll take you to the land. And as I speak to you, just last week, we have awarded 2 contracts out of the urban development grants to be able to cater for the gaps that we have in educational infrastructure.
I perfectly agree with you that things are being done and you have plans in the pipeline like we always do. We will do things, we are doing this. But we agree that there is a problem. The immediate solution for the children who are in Ashaiman government cluster of schools, we've been there. It's a problem. This big compound, not so big, with 19 to 21 cluster of schools on that compound. And the children are attempting to absorb, you know, materials in the classroom as in teaching.
Madam, having gone there, technically or architecturally, you see it clear that we have underutilized the space there. If you have been in Ashaiman way back, like from 90s, you realize that that school was a proper school. If we have done good engineering, we would have gone vertical.
Right.
We have misused the land.
Would you say also good planning?
Yeah, good planning.
You see, we take plots of land, they belong to some people and they start building. There's no plan. In other countries, you have an area, whether the plot belongs to you or not, you can't do what you like on it. Exactly. It's planned. A school will be here, a doctor's surgery will be here, a market will be here, and so on. We don't do that in Ghana. That is our problem. Any piece of land, if you look at Laboni, everywhere else, we are just building. And then when there's water shortage, electricity shortage, we begin to complain. This is our problem. We have to plan. And the authorities have to be fair. They shouldn't wait until we put the building up there to come and destroy it, as they do, as you people do.
Right. Madam Gaituah, Ghana Education Service, obviously the problem is at your feet. And then we've been having series of talk from the documentary that was shown yesterday, and you know, some of the issues you've laid at the feet of the Assembly. Because you know there were a few comparisons that came up in other schools, for example, in schools that are private in Ashaiman, they are all within Ashaiman, but they are better off in terms of infrastructure. But because it is a government school,
Private.
No.
that attention is not given to it. And your explanation was that it's because it's within this perimeter of the assembly. Now, what would you still, are you still holding on to that?
Yes.
With the explanation that Honorable Baidoo gave?
Yes. Yes, I'll still hold on to that.
That is within the
It's
assembly.
within the jurisdiction of the assembly. You know, we can go on our own to do the renovations and everything, because education is not earning any income like the public schools. We are not trading, we are not getting money from anywhere. And we rely on the assembly to help us with renovations. So if things are going bad, we turn to them. They are our fathers, and we have to go to them to tell them this ABC needs maintenance, needs that. And we are helpless if they are not coming to our aid.
Yes, I want to say that that is perfectly true. Now, if you look at even the act that establishes the assembly, clearly, the municipal chief executive or the district chief executive is the district education oversight committee. And so the chairperson, and so whatever happens in terms of education, in terms of infrastructure, that is why you are there, to make sure they get what they need to be able to function effectively. And so what she's saying is right, but resources here. And from where we came from, where Ashaiman was, where Adenta was, and where Kumkatamaso was, we were being supervised far away from TMA. And with the scarce resources, everything was concentrated in the main Tema area. We took off just 2008. We have a lot of gaps. We have to run very fast. And so we are catching up. I agree, there are problems, but we are catching up. And we are involving the community for them to appreciate that we have a problem to deal with.
Okay. We will be taking a break here in a moment to take a look at some of the clips that we picked up in the field when we went to Ashaiman to pick up the information and data on this discussion tonight. If so, for viewers who have not had a chance of seeing the documentary that was screened last night, you will be able to take a look at some of the clips, and we can roll them if we're ready with those clips. we are discussing the infrastructural deficit in Ashaiman municipality, and you just viewed some clips there from Ashaiman, the public schools there, cluster of schools, where we are discussing with the Honorable Baidoo, who is the Municipal Chief Executive, Madam Pamela Gaituah, who is the Ghana Education Service Director there, the Acting Director in Ashaiman, and also Mr. KB Asante, a retired diplomat and educationist. You just watched the clip. I'll give you the start, Mr. KB Asante. The honeycomb, you know, windows, I'll say, and then the cracks in the ground there, where we see that this is a learning environment for our children. Obviously, was that what it was?
It's not good enough, and it means that if you perhaps they were not well constructed. I went to Ashaiman School. It's still there, even after the earthquake. It was well constructed. Now we have better engineers, we have experienced people, but unfortunately, things don't go right. One of them perhaps is bad workmanship and corruption. We have to, it didn't start yesterday, it started long ago, and that's one of the reasons. And then going and having a plan. Now I saw the girls fanning themselves, they were hot. Yes. Now we build houses so that without air conditioning you can't breathe. We had a plan in Accra. All houses are usually, the windows and those face north-south, because you get the air blowing from the sea. And the school I went to, at Abraka, we had no air conditioning. The doors were, they were north-south, and we always, there was a fresh air blowing through. Then also, again, the school I went to is still standing in Accra. I'm sure if you look at, there'll be a few cracks and so on, but it's not as bad as the more recent ones. So that's something we have to repair, but meanwhile we should ask ourselves, why did it happen? And see to it that what schools we build now are properly built, and that all the money is used for building, and that our supervisors, including even our chief, they look, they open their eyes. I know it's a big job, but they have to do it, and they have to quarrel with so many people, including even their colleagues and people in their party and so on, and to get things done properly. It's a very big. I naturally, I didn't like what I saw. I'm sure you don't like it. Ghanaians don't like it. And the point is, how do we improve things? Yes, we have to repair the cracks. We've got to do things to the schools. But more importantly, we should see to it that we don't repeat the same structure, the same phenomena in future.
Honorable Baby. We have to see to it that we do not repeat the same. We have cracked floors, and yet we expect that our children should stay in there and learn and come out with the best BC results. Their counterparts in private schools have ceiling fans, and they are living, the conditions are better. Yeah. And then we sit and I mean, what are we doing about it?
Yes, I think that this is about leadership here. Way back in TMA, when I happened to chair the Works Committee, I have made a contractor move a motion on that based on shoddy work of rafters. I move a motion, I mobilize my people, and he was asked to go back and fix them before he was paid. As I speak to you, having taken office, we have a fresh building, which I inherited. Go and see the screening. And so I said, no, we're not going to release the final payment. The contractor must go back and fix it. The issue has to do about value for money. It's about supervision. We have all the engineers. And for me, what I think that we should be doing is about social accountability. If you involve the community in planning, we have to involve them in the supervision of the work. Not technically, but they have to be going to site meetings. Because if they attend site meetings and the drawings are being reviewed as per what is on the ground situation, these things will be raised. But if we don't encourage the community to engage us engage our contractors at site meetings. Obviously, we will sink money and will not get value for money. And the issue about architects, I think that our architects must do a sample. Let's look at the designs of the various schools that we have. Almost everywhere, the honeycomb, you can't even have good vision, you can't even have good lighting in the school classroom. So for all this while, what has been the thinking? I'm not an engineer. And so the architects must be able to help this country in coming out with a proper prototype design. That should be sent to all assemblies to kind of adapt and implement. If the assemblies will be given that mandate, as per the devolution powers that are given us, then of course we can also engage some experts within our catchment. Of course, every area has some expertise, so that they can look at this problem as per the various municipalities that we have and solve this problem. You can see clearly that these are engineering problems. Clear. We complete projects, and for less than 6 months you go back there and it's a problem. That's why I agree that we have a problem.
But Mr. When the building is being constructed, don't we have experts to go and check whether whether they properly reach a certain level before they are paid, or as that was the old method I'm used to?
That is the situation. You have to go to a certain level, you raise certificate, they pay you, you continue.
And so they are being paid, and those who inspect them, what do you do to them when they say yes and you pay them? And
that also goes with supervision.
So then it becomes an issue of
exactly.
Who is supervising this project?
Exactly. Supervision. You can have the engineer to be compromised.
Executive.
Yes. You are the head, you have the works department, where you have the technocrats to be able to tell you the ratio of mixture of cements that should
and if
go
they say
whatever.
yes, and you get them paid, later you find it's not, what do you do to them?
Exactly. That's why we do retention. Every contract.
But what about your own experts who sanction the building?
That's why we have to do a lot of things about the policy and the civil service code.
Do you sack them if somebody does?
We don't have the power to hire and fire.
Why?
That is what the country is looking at.
I think that even before you get to hiring and firing, as you're working on something and you go for supervision, you have to make sure that it's done and done properly before you sign up.
But for me, I think that what I'm encouraging, because I've been from the ground, right, from assembly member, unit committee, zonal councillor, and community activists, and what I'm encouraging is for the community to participate in supervision, and that calls for site meetings. At every stage, the community must be involved, stakeholders must be involved, and that is the only way, because the communities must own the projects. These monies are coming from them, and so if we are giving it back to them, they should be involved and they can help us in supervising the work. And so that is what I'm encouraging, and it's working. It's working.
We'll certainly come back to Ashaiman and see if that's working. We'll be there with our cameras. But yes. Madam Gaituah, you are the education director there in Ashaiman. And it's pathetic that we have our kids in the school and they're literally finding themselves. How much retention of material will they have in an environment like that?
The conditions are not conducive for learning. Teaching and learning, actually. The conditions there on the ground are not conducive for teaching and learning. We even had the occasion with one of our big people at the Education Ministry coming over at one time, and he was like, oh, these honeycomb things should be grazed down and then we have something. But what do we do? Just by word of mouth, nothing comes. It's not helping us. Look at the children fanning themselves. All attention will be on the fanning. Nothing sinks in. So at the end, they write the same exam with people who have fans, who have bigger windows, and we expect to have the same thing.
And that is the crux of the matter, and that's why we're here. We're talking about the fact that the opportunities are different, yes. And yet the students are going, our pupils, our children, our future are going to write the same exam, the basic education certificate, examination, which is why we all have to sit up. We are all parts of the problem. Yes. This is not a problem for one person or a problem for the other. Viewers, if you just joined us, this is the curriculum. We have been talking about the infrastructural development deficit in basic schools in Ashaiman, and this is a program that is coming to us by courtesy of Star Ghana, which is why we're here today. Education is the passion, and that's what we're talking about. Honorable Baidoo, the budget. I know you've talked about the budget. You've mentioned figures. You know, when we throw figures out there, everybody gets confused. We spent 30,000, so we provided so many schools, and that's the problem. Everybody, you know, provision is one thing, whether or not everything comes together is another thing. I know when we came to Ashaiman, you said that you have some buildings, get fund buildings that are being constructed, and they are about 30 to 40% complete. That was about 5 months or so when we came to shoot in Ashaiman. So how is that almost complete now?
No.
What's happening?
We have some technical problem.
And
which are we changing the policy that school must go vertical.
So did you not know that before? So this again comes to the issue.
Yes, the issue has to do with change of leadership. For me, I think that the assembly is
why should the leader change policy
why
just like
somebody
that?
comes and then all of a sudden everything changes?
Yes, the issue has to be with what is the policy of the assembly. When Ashaiman Municipal Assembly was established, because we knew that we had problems with land space, we don't have lands, and so if we want to go scattered, we will be kind of limited. And so what we adopted at the first assembly, which I was part, was that we have to be going vertical to make use of the limited space that we have. Now I have taken office, and that has been 4 years ago. I was out of the assembly. Now I have come. I should be able to set the record straight so that we can make some savings of land. And so we have to do some re-engineering of the structure. And Get Fund has accepted it. They have approved it. They saw sense in what we were saying. And so the contractor has been given some modification to do. And so it's going, the period for the construction is going to kind of extend a bit. But the work is ongoing.
I hope this going vertical, you think of you think of people who are impaired, people like me
take
who can't climb steps.
And then the PWDs, yes, we are.
You have lifts there? Do you have lifts?
No.
Do you expect? You know, there's anyway.
They are going to have the slopes.
You are going to have other problems.
Yes. Ben was saying re-engineering, and the whole issue of re-engineering.
Yeah.
Come here with your engineer and to tell us more about this particular project, because it's very, very important.
Why not?
We're going to take another break and take a look at more clips. This is to help our viewers, for those who did not have a chance to watch the documentary that we shot in Ashaiman, the first episode of the curriculum. welcome back. This is the curriculum. We have been discussing the infrastructural development deficit in Ashaiman municipality, focused on the basic schools. With me in the studio, we have been discussing this issue is Honorable Baidoo, Municipal Chief Executive from Ashaiman, Madam Pamela Gaituah, who is the acting Director of Education there, and also KB Asante, of course, who is a retired diplomat and an educationist. We had just watched a clip a while ago, and what struck me was that thing on the compound. And that again is Ashaiman government schools, the cluster of schools, yeah, which is in perspective now. A lot of interference on the compound. Madam Gaituah, how are your teachers able to cope with a situation like that?
It all bounces back to the problem of security. We don't have security in the school, so that when school is in session, at least the gates will be closed. It wouldn't be used as a thoroughfare. The teachers can't leave their classrooms to come out and watch the gates, and you wouldn't know who will also be coming, that the gate should be open for that person. So definitely they can't close the gates and then be in their classrooms. So the gates are there, and they are using it as a thoroughfare.
So we need
once
a law.
again, we go to our father for security. As I speak now, we have day security, but this day security has been hired by the teachers themselves. They bring us night security, but from what I hear on the ground, the night security are not working. They are not there.
And
so it's a problem.
Have you made reports?
We have.
And?
He's working at it. Chief is working at it.
Honorable Baidoo.
Yes, it's a fact. I did my own reconnaissance tour of the way the securities work. And not only with the schools, but with even the markets and some of our institutions or establishments that we have hired for people to give us revenue. Where you are supposed to have 4 watchmen, you go and you have only 1. You go to other schools where you are supposed to have 5, you have only 2. Recently, we had some people broken into one of the schools, which are new schools that we have just commissioned, and took away of our polytanks. And so I have just done a roll call of all the watchmen. They have come. Those of them that I went on the ground on number of occasions. At 12 o'clock I went and met the absence. They were not there.
And what did you do? What happened?
So they are gone. They are gone because these are watchmen that we have hired on IGF.
Yes.
We are paying them directly from the assembly. So we have some authority as to whether they should stay or go. And we have taken a decision on them. And so we are doing recruitment of some watchmen. And so if you go to the government school as we speak, the ICT center, which was under lock and key for some time now, is kind of open. We have watchmen, and we are trying to pick the right ones and give them some training, at least not direct, and then we take them to we need to conscientize them and prepare them for the work. Okay. And so that is what we are doing to that effect.
Okay. We will be exploring this issue of security in schools, especially basic schools, the government schools in Ashaiman, in subsequent episodes of our documentary. But for now, let's look at the issue of the environment, the litter. I mean, the whole compound is littered with all sorts of things, polythene, all sorts of things. So, I don't know. I wonder how are the children able to learn in such an environment that is so unkempt. Honorable, Mr. KB Asante, putting it in a historical perspective,
yes, there should
did we have schools in the past with this kind of compound?
No.
Or this is just something, because I know I had a conversation with you sometime, and you said that things are haywire, everywhere is dirty.
Yes, we are no rule of law.
What is the problem?
People who feel they can go anywhere. Recently it was university, and a lot of unfortunate statements were made. Even if it's a school, which we all pay for. If it's Ashaiman school, you and I contribute indirectly.
Yes.
Yeah.
It doesn't mean we can access, we can go there when we like. The school must have authority to say this gate is closed, you can't come here at such and such a time.
Serene
We need
conditions,
university did it, and there was a lot of hullabaloo. I went to a school, there was a gate and so on. People just can't come in and do what they like. We had people selling, they were given a place to sell, and they knew they came at a certain time, they sold and went away, and they were to see to it that the environment was clean. If it wasn't, they were sent away. Now, these days, you have all sorts of directives. Somebody sits somewhere, says this woman should come and sell. It's chaotic, and there's no rule of law. If the school makes some regulations, or the chief executive, they make something, you will find another directive will come from somewhere, or somebody will do something else. Perhaps Madam is the education service, they may have something else to say. So, you see, yes, the problems appear insoluble and huge because we don't obey rules and regulations. And that's the basic line, so far as I'm concerned. In our time, it was done. The school rules and regulations were obeyed by the students as well as the public. And unless that happens, I don't see how you can move forward. I don't know. Perhaps Mr. Chief has said he may have bright. They are young men with bright new ideas. He can solve it. Me, I don't know of any other, but by going by the whole.
I think that is pathetic if we cannot keep our environment simply clean. That is a basic thing. You don't need the president or the Ghana Education Service Director who sits in Accra to come to Ashaiman cluster of schools, Madam Gaituah, and tell you that you and your teachers will have to make sure that the place is clean. That is a responsibility of the people, the teachers.
We are working at that. We are working at the conditions. But as I said earlier on, the thoroughfare is such that even if the children are trying to be neat, people who are cutting across drop off anything they are holding.
Then they should be stopped from using the school as a thoroughfare.
So the important thing is that the school should not be used as a thoroughfare.
Full stop.
So that we can monitor our children. We have dustbins, but unfortunately, I think the size of the dustbins, they are not that
we can
voluminous.
improve them.
So we have to increase
and
the size.
if they live in sanitary conditions, to affect them. Without knowing, they themselves will practice it. But if there's a thoroughfare, people throw things
anyhow,
then they can't.
So the decision taken now, which by the time you come back to the assembly,
is that the decision you're taking at this forum?
No.
At this forum, or the assembly has already taken a decision?
We have both the deliberative, the legislative, and executive function. You can't jump as a chief executive because there's a problem. You run to say somebody should go and fix a gate, somebody should go and do that. And we just finished with the executive committee, and all these decisions were taken. And once we have done that, we're blocking that.
So how soon is
Number 2, soonest.
Where soon means 2 weeks. We'll come there with our cameras.
Yes, you can come and you see something change. Number 2, maintenance of the compound. I was born and bred in Ashaiman. I attended the same school.
Attended the school.
And the previous chief executive attended the same school.
There's a lot on your shoulders.
A lot of people attended the same school.
To make sure the things are done properly.
All right. So, was the compound like that? Do we even still have compound overseers? Do we even have sectional leaders? In the past, when we thought that education was not even visible everywhere, things were done properly. So what has gone wrong? For me, I think that we can provide whatever it is. But the supervision and conscientizing the kids and people in town, their ways of behaving and thinking. You see educated people, they litter. They litter.
If they drop papers, they should be charged. Perhaps we should do it as they do in some other countries. You drop a paper and you can be taken to court. If you do go to Switzerland and do it, it's an offense.
We are doing curbside collection in the community. And where the school finds itself, the cluster of school, within the area, the opposite, all the abutting electoral areas, we are doing curbside collection. All the houses are given receptacle to keep their garbage. But what happens? Some of them will have to carry and bring it to the school.
Yeah,
This is about behavior. This is about behavior, attitude. And so these are things that we need to hammer on. We can provide everything that you can talk about. If you go to New York, you see, but they have control.
Talking about controls, there has to be an intervention to do controls, which is supervision, right? Somebody has to monitor and make sure things are done right in the school. Is that not under the purview of the Ghana Education Service? How effective is your monitoring?
Very effective.
How?
We have circuit supervisors who monitor the schools. Ashaiman has been grouped into 4 circuits, and these circuit supervisors oversee the head teachers in the schools, and the head teachers oversee the teachers in the schools. So everybody has a part to play in the school to ensure that things are working well. Apart from these circuit supervisors, we have the overall deputy director in charge of monitoring and supervision, who is at the directorate office. And she oversees all of them. So she goes round most of the time through all the schools to ensure that the CSs are on their toes doing what is expected of them. But she's one person. So she lives here and something happens at the other side. And like Chief has been saying, it's all commitment. If we all work together as a team, I think things will change for the better.
One of the things I've realized with regards to the supervision in terms of sanitation, the Education Directorate have somebody who goes around to supervise that. The SHEP officer. We also have our department that do that. But you don't see the collaboration. And so we have taken a decision that all of them must go together. The reason is that we are supposed to provide that services. In terms of lifting the garbage, we have about 30% in-house to support private contractors when they default. And so if our supervisor doesn't go with the SHEP coordinator and finds out that there's a problem, then how? She has to go around and come and write a report. When do we solve the problem? And so what we have instituted now is that go together. So that when you see the problem, our officer comes back to the assembly and then we can attend to the problem just at once. Because this was the gap. They go to do their inspection, we also go to do our inspection. But whatever happens in terms of problems that needs to be solved, the assembly will have to do it. So why not go together?
Again, my question, Madam Gaituah, you see, what I'm saying is that the compound is littered. And if there's supervision, why is the compound littered?
This is why I said that the children are not doing the littering by themselves alone. The school is a thoroughfare. And so the number of people who are going across the school every day, they are the people who are littering the most.
Madam, for that one, I can say yes and no. I disagree with her. Because countries where you cannot litter, the reason is not because somebody is there policing. And the reason is not because somebody is telling you that no, you can't drop it. The reason is because even children are conscientized. I have been to Indonesia before. You drop a pail of a toffee, a child will pick it and give it to you. Okay, so if we are doing it in the schools, and our case or the school children are up to the task, when you are a pass buyer. If you drop, they will tell you must take it. 1, 2, 3, it will reduce that.
The children have that. The teachers have instilled that in them. The teachers have instilled that in them. You drop one, you pick 10. That is the
They are all right.
You drop
very
one,
right.
you pick 10.
But ultimately, there should be a sanction, national sanction. You later, you are taken to court, you are fined everything. There should be a rule. When I was young, it was done. We used to call them town council people. They used to come to the house, and they take you to court. And in fact, we used to. I had a friend, his father. We used to make joke about his father. In the court, he was an interpreter, and he says, "Oh, you fall, oh, you fall. Are you guilty or guilty?" Great. And then you are fined.
Right. On that note, Mr. KB Asante, it's getting interesting, but we'll have to round up. You know, it's getting interesting, but we will come back to more of the issues on the curriculum. We have been discussing the infrastructural deficit in Ashaiman municipality. With me in the studio where we have been discussing the issues are Mr. KB Asante, retired diplomat and educationist, Madam Gaituah, the acting director of education, and also Honorable Baidoo, who is the municipal chief executive. He has promised to make sure that Ashaiman is a better place for our children. Education is our passion. Make a date with us same time in 2 weeks for the curriculum. We will be showing a documentary and then we'll be joined in the studio for a discussion. Thank you. Have a good evening.
Thank you.